Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are here for our webinar with Linen House to discuss how they transformed their manufacturing and distribution operations. So I can see that we have a few more joining. Hello to those who have just joined us. We'll just wait a minute or two for a few people who are coming along, and then we'll jump in and we'll get started. So I can see we still have a few of us joining, so I'll just give it another second or two. Hello to everyone who is joining. All right, well, let's get straight into it. So hi everyone and welcome to our webinar today. I'm Isabel Ford, the marketing manager here at Annexa, and we're here today to chat about building a resilient manufacturing and distribution future. So I guess setting some context, there's definitely no doubt that the last few years have been a big catalyst for change in the industry. And we found a stat that was saying 95% of manufacturers are expecting these changes to be permanent. So these uncertain times have definitely brought forth a focus on operational efficiency, adapting to tough supply chain disruptions, and also the importance of digital transformation initiatives to support this. So in today's session, we'll learn about how leading homewares brand Linen House transformed its operations with the right technology to remain agile, competitive, and resilient in this uncertain climate. And we'll also cover some of the top priorities for manufacturers and distributors right now. So including inventory and warehouse management, and of course, navigating supply chain instability. So just some quick housekeeping for today. We would love to hear from you throughout the session. We've got some time at the end for Q&A. So use the chat box on the right-hand side of the screen to shoot the speakers through any questions. And we'll also have a few polls popping up throughout the webinar. So it would be great to get everybody involved in those polls and see some input. So before we get into it today, I would like to introduce our speakers. So I'm joined by Tez Osman, the IT director at Linen House, and Matthew Owens, our director here at Annexa. So Tez and Matt, I might hand over to you guys if you want to give us a quick introduction to yourselves. So Tez, perhaps we start with you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, everybody. I'm the technical director at Linen House. I've been with the business for, I think, just on 17 years, and my role is just to oversee and manage all of the different technology for for operations and for communications, basically.
Thanks, Tez. Thanks, Izzy. Great to be here. So I'm Matthew Owens, director at Annexa. I head up our sales and marketing. I've been in the ERP space for around 14 odd years, consulting, implementing before transitioning to head up the sales and marketing. Over the years, been very fortunate to work with some great brands, none more so than Linen House. So thanks, Tez, for joining us today. Obviously, great team, great people, and very much appreciate the long-term partnership with you guys. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share your insights with us today. So on that note, Tez, to kick us off, perhaps you could give us an overview of Linen House, what you guys offer, and your journey to date.
Sure. Well, Linen House is a family-owned private business. It has been around for approximately 30 years, and we specialise in the design and I guess the manufacture of homewares and bed linen. And our biggest sector is, and what we're best known for is our bed linen, but we've certainly expanded into a lot of different areas with regards to different homeware offerings. The business obviously started as a traditional wholesaler first, but has moved into more of an omni-channel B2B, B2C retailer. And we're running a few different, we we're running a few different brands, so it's not just Linen House. We've got Aura Home as well. We also have moved into bricks and mortar in the more recent years with some of our own retail stores. And yeah, we're also active in a lot of different marketplaces online, marketplaces and market spaces. And yeah, there's not many things that we're currently not doing, but yeah, our origin was a wholesaler, but now we're truly a multi-channel.
Perfect. Yeah, it's been a big few years. Great to see the growth and evolution of the business. Perhaps you could just sort of walk us through the driver, or drivers in terms of the transition from being a B2B business to shifting to a B2C business. I guess when we started our partnership back in 2016, 2017, I recall you had just the one clearance store, and clearly you've had tremendous growth since then.
Yeah, sure. Look, yeah, the business started off as being a purely wholesale business, and over the over the last 17 years that I've been with the business, we've seen a big transformation from just being a wholesaler to now an omni-channel business. And the main reason for that was Linen House and Aura, all of the different brands that we manage. We've got such a breadth and a wide range of products and designs, just selling and distributing our goods to the majors like Myer and Harris Scarfe and all of the big retailers. No one was really representing our brand in the way that we felt that it should have been. So for us, we had to take charge of our own destiny in a lot of ways, and to be able to really showcase some of the designs and products that we are designing from the ground up. It wasn't, we were not being, we just think that in terms of our, people who are supporting us, some of our majors, you might walk into a Myer or a Harris Scarfe and see just, some of our products on a shelf down the bottom, whereas we've got a lot more products that we sell and we create. So we wanted to take control of our own destiny, essentially. That's what we were trying to do. And we felt the best way forward with that was obviously starting to develop our own B2C online channel, which showcases every single product that we currently, have. And it also showcases the amazing design that we do too. So our business, we have our own textile team who travel the world every year and look at all of the different seasonal trends and materials and fabrics and everything else. So we go to all this effort to try to create these amazing products, but then we sort of didn't have the mechanism to be able to showcase all of these things. So, obviously the logical step for us was to move more into the B2C area by creating our own B2C websites, as well as our now 25 odd retail outlets.
Yeah, it's a big transition. It's an interesting one. I guess we see a few of our customers doing both channels and managing different channels. Customers and consumers can be extremely different business models. So maybe more so on the business side, how did you guys navigate telling your B2B customers that you were going to go direct to the consumer? Did you sort of have some considerations in terms of managing those partnerships?
Yeah, of course. Look, obviously the wholesale side of the business is still a significant portion of our business, and we don't want to. We obviously don't want to upset our existing customers with long-term relationships with them, but at the same time, we are being forced to control your own destiny. You have to start having some conversations around. Some of the point I made before, it's like, well, you're taking, 100 of our products. We've got 5,000 other ones that you're not taking. So it just became, and in terms of getting rid of certain dead stock as well, and you want to be able to, protect the business and showcase the business as well to, the population that this is what we do. So obviously having chats with all of our customers, around channel conflict was a really big push at the time. So we were very careful and respectful, excuse me, to all of our wholesale customers, and we still are, by the way. We still are very respectful to them in the sense that all of the new products that come out, we would offer them first. In terms of the pricing, we would never, sell something to one of our wholesale customers and then a week later do it at 30% off on our own website. So obviously, just being as respectful and as transparent as we possibly can to preserve that wholesale relationship, but then at the same time, being able to showcase the breadth of all of the different amazing designs that our creative teams are producing. So yeah, the channel conflict conversations were ones that we had to have at the time, but they're still ongoing. So we, as part of our day-to-day business operations, we still have to be respectful for all of our wholesale customers, and with the bricks and mortar as well. We're not going to go and open a store right next to one of our wholesale customers. So again, we're looking for areas where we don't have a great deal of our customers close by. And again, yeah, we're trying to be as respectful as we can to our wholesale market, as well as trying to showcase all of the amazing products that Linden House make.
Well, clearly it's working. Yeah, both channels are thriving, and you guys are doing great things, continuing to grow. So, so maybe getting into a bit more of the mechanics of the operations of the business, you could give the audience an overview of your manufacturing and distribution operations, how you source products, and a bit of an overview of the way your supply chain runs.
Yeah, sure. So from a business context, we have for our Linden House brand, as well as Aura Home, we have 25 stores across Australia. We have 5 websites that we service for both B2B and B2C. We have approximately 8,000 SKUs if you're including Linden House and Aura. We have about 200 employees working throughout the business. We have multiple vendors who we actually do the manufacturing. So we do contract manufacturing. We do all of our own warehousing and distribution through some of the systems I think that we're probably going to talk about today. We have in the past even gone down the path of doing a bit of 3PL ourselves, and we've had some additional warehouse space that we could potentially use to make a bit of money as well. So yeah, I guess in a nutshell, that's where we're at in terms of our that whole product life cycle. We use NetSuite and High Jump as our technology sort of stack to do all of the fulfillment. But yeah, that's basically in a nutshell.
Perfect. Yeah, I think the context is a lot of people would be very familiar with the Linden House brand, but understanding that you've got all the channels, you've got Aura, you've got 5 odd websites, and the scale of the business. It's a testament to, I guess, the maturity of the business and the strong operational expertise that you guys have built over the years, to be able to run a supply chain across all those channels efficiently as you do. And it doesn't come as a surprise that you're lending some of your buddies some warehouse space and helping them with their fulfillment as well. I think you guys are unique in a sense that you're probably one of the few customers that we work with that do everything in-house. Some of our customers run their own warehouses, but they're also complemented by 3PL warehouses and 3PL warehouses around the globe. In terms of your experience running your own warehouse versus 3PLs, is that something that you've kind of looked at and considered in terms of staying as efficient as you can?
Yeah, we have, Matt, we have sort of dipped our toes in some of the 3PL, outsourcing some of that work to different businesses. But we've had because I guess the key factor for us why we run it ourselves is because we've got, close to 30 years of experience doing it. And we've evolved to a point where we believe do it cheaper and better than what can outsource the services to someone else. Other thing as well, obviously, given the change in business as well, so going from wholesaler to multi-channel everything, that has an impact on operation too. And what we sort of discovered through our journey was when you have an outsourced, when you outsource that part of your business to someone else, I think it does. There's some benefits to it, but then some of the negatives that we sort of experienced was during such periods of change, those changes involve a third party, which then sort of drives the costs up and requires new training of their staff. So we just found that we did it better ourselves, and we've been doing that now for 30 odd years. And lucky for us, that significant change that happened has meant that we've been a lot more agile with transitioning from that wholesale to drop shipping and bricks and mortar and online and B2B, and so there's all those things, all those changes that have happened in the last 10 years. You need that agility to be able to turn on these channels and manage them, rather than sort of try and outsource it, which might work for others, but for us we found it was just better for us to do it.
No, I think that one's really interesting. It'd be a good discussion for many other businesses like yours to understand those pros and cons and get your experiences anyway. Because I think that's a unique testament to the way the business is run and the operations that you've put in place. So on the topic of digital transformation, obviously a critical path for many distributors and manufacturers that we work with, particularly in terms of achieving growth strategies. If you're reflecting on when you guys embarked on overhauling your tech stack to where it is today, perhaps you could share some of the challenges and drivers around that investment, where you were before and where you're at now.
Sure. Look, Matt, before we moved over to NetSuite and started working with your team, we were on Sage ACPAC, which meant that at the time we had to manage all of the different technical aspects of having a solution of that nature. Now, I don't want to bash that product, because we used it very successfully for a long time and it was fit for purpose at that stage. But what we found was a couple of the major areas was, number one, we had to customize Sage a lot to be able to achieve the outcomes that we needed. Now that's all good, but once you get to a stage where you're extremely customized, then making additional changes becomes a real big headache. As the business was moving from that wholesale to channel, we just found that the customization were growing in size, and then minor changes on the track meant that we had to redo all these different parts, and it got to a stage where adding in new stores, and that became a problem whereby it would take a week or two for consultants, developers, and people to make changes. It just got to a stage where we couldn't be as agile as we needed to be, and our roadmap dictated that we were introducing all of these new channels, so it just wasn't working for us, and we thought, now's an opportunity that we have to move. But the other part of that piece, in terms of all of the infrastructure and servers and updates and operating systems and all that sort of stuff that you had to manage, was a challenge too. So you not only had the ERP and all of the system integration stuff to worry about, but then on top of that you had all of the hosting and infrastructure that you had to be involved in. Now we did outsource some of that stuff, but that didn't make you you couldn't just wipe your hands of it and say that's it. We had to be involved in that whole upgrade cycle, and it just got too painful. And it took, for example, to open up a new store take us 2 weeks, and it was a challenging thing to do. Whereas now, with some of the cloud offerings and integrations that we built out with the Annexa team, we can do those sorts of things really quickly. It takes minutes, and then being an SMB, We have the luxury of having a bunch of people that are experts in hosting and management as well. So for us to go that pure cloud play and then integrate within those different solutions, definitely a way to go about it.
Yeah, just for 1 second, just to pause. I think a few issues with your audio. I don't know if there's something, a setting or something. Can hear you, but it's just a little bit in and out. I'm assuming that's not just for me. It sounds.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. No, something did pop up on my screen before, and I clicked OK. Maybe I did something wrong, but
that's
let me know if you can't hear me.
We'll leave it like that. Thank you. No, and so yeah, on the topic, agreed. Even our business supporting businesses with systems, moving to the cloud technology took us away from servers and hardware and upgrades, and really enabled us to focus on the business processes and actually achieving the outcomes that our customers are looking to do. So all makes sense. So fast forwarding to today, could you give us an overview of the tech stack, what it is now, perhaps also how NetSuite runs the business, and which areas you're driving innovation?
Sure. It's probably the best to just start with, obviously we're using NetSuite as our single source of truth. That was probably, the biggest decision to make as far as, the solution that we have now. But at the time when we were looking at implementing, it had to be the system that spoke to all the different peripheral, business units that we run. So obviously being a B2C onliner, NetSuite needed to have all the mechanics in there to manage the inventory, not just for wholesale, but it needed to manage the inventory for, B2C, all of the dropshipping channels, our retail outlets as well. So it was a key part of our current technology stack is NetSuite, because that is the source of our truth. For all of our e-commerce platforms, we're actually using Magento 2 Cloud, and we've built out an integration within NetSuite to be able to help us manage that. And we also use Vend also, which is, Vend is the in-store point of sale. So again, a cloud-based sort of solution there that we can roll out pretty quickly. But then from an innovation point of view, using NetSuite to assist us in managing our omni-channel business, a couple of the things that sort of jump out, and probably doesn't mean a great deal to the audience at this stage, but probably does to your team, Matt, because they obviously helped us build it. Verification is a part of a development that we did within NetSuite, which essentially automates and assists our business to be able to manage all the inventory in an accurate way across all of the different business units. And there's a lot of automation and there's a lot of technology, I think, gone into that, because that is one of the key factors that a business like ours now relies on, the accuracy of the stock across all of those channels. You can't be making too many mistakes, otherwise your shops have no stock, or your website doesn't, you can't fulfill an order. So the verification implementation for us was probably where one of the greatest innovations in our business, moving from Sage to NetSuite. That's definitely, a key area that we've developed, and that's, inventory management on steroids. I guess that's the way to look at it. And then at the same time, we also had a similar solution within NetSuite, what we call the PI, the product information workflow. And that is essentially the technology within NetSuite that allows the complete end-to-end product life cycle management. So that's everything from when our creative people create the designs, name them, and talk about what sort of products they are, what sort of fabrication, and everything from the inception of that product through to manufacturing and sourcing of all the different materials and fabrics, and pricing, to purchase orders, to content for websites, to then sales orders, to the entire life cycle of that product lives within that product information or PI development or that programming. So the two things that sort of jump out as being, this is where we've really been able to transition the business from wholesale to omni-channel, has been verification is a big part of being able to do that. But then at the same time, it's important that, because of that whole omni-channel scenario, you need a system that's going to be able to manage the entire product life cycle from start to finish. So I think, I'll call out those two things as being the key NetSuite innovations. But at the same time, we also have our warehouse management system, HighJump, or Excelos Radio Beacon. It's changed names a few times now, but we've got a very heavily integrated WMS system with a lot of our warehouse accuracy or our inventory accuracy sort of relies on some of the activities that WMS offers in terms of your picking and packing and distribution. So I mean, that's another big part of it. But at the same time, the verification solution, as well as the product information, that they are the foundational applications that enable Linen House to do what we do accurately. And without those, anything downstream in the warehouse, wherever else, we just wouldn't be as efficient.
Awesome. I really appreciate you sharing that part of it. It's fantastic solution in the sense that you've effectively automated all the checks and balances to minimize any risk of stock outs or the wrong products at the wrong time, but also just the operations in terms of how inventory is fulfilled, how it's picked, and how it moves around your warehouse depending on the channel of the order. So I think that's an area that no doubt many distributors, not just in your space, but many or any distributors or retailers would be able to learn a lot from. And it's like, you guys driving that innovation to say, well, look, here's how we think we can fully automate this. Here's how we can use the foundations of NetSuite to underpin it. And if we could build all this other stuff on top, I think that's a testament to the input and creativity of your teams to actually figure out and give us the guidance on how we could build this thing. So very, very unique. So it'd be good for other distributors to be able to compare notes with you, because without giving away the Linen House secret sauce, of course, Tez, but that's a great story. So drilling a bit more into the product life cycle, contract manufacturing, managing multiple vendors, there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. Could you just maybe share a little bit more on the product life cycle and the contract manufacturing components of the solution?
Yeah, sure. So as part of that PI form, Matt, so, just starting at the start, our textile teams they'll travel the world, they'll find all the different trends and fabrications and all the rest of that. So then after that sort of happens, then we go into a stage where we start looking at, the contract manufacturing side of it. Now we've got a bunch of suppliers that we use primarily out of China and India and other places too. But then obviously that kicks off the PI part of the item lifecycle, where now we're starting to liaise with our suppliers to try to get pricing and some understanding as to the product that we've just conceptualized. How do we then work with our contract vendors to get the pricing, get the availability, understand timing? And so part of our PI process is the purchase order side of it. And even before that, if you want to look at the conversations that we're having with them around, here's the product, let's start talking about some of our options. So we use the PI form to help us manage and track all of the different stages of that contract manufacturing. So as part of the pricing, the timing of the different sizes, or the different copy or information around that product, it all gets managed within that PI workflow. And obviously once you get to the purchase order stage, then the product information side of things works within the purchase order modules to make sure that all of the different shipments and deliveries and everything is tracked accordingly. Now, we also have that whole verification plugged into this stage as well, because obviously we offer our customers the ability to be able to place an order on upcoming POs, and that verification that I talked about before, that helps manage the allocation of items on those purchase orders at that, those stages, so to make sure that our stores are getting enough, our website's getting enough, our wholesales are getting enough of it as well. So, the whole product information workflow, as well as the verification, they work very closely together to make sure that everything happens from start to finish of that product, essentially, until it arrives at our DC.
Yeah, no, very,
I
very
hope that
cool.
sort of answered your question.
Natively, NetSuite doesn't have a sort of a product lifecycle type of a process. So many of our customers, a lot of that stuff's done offline, or they're leveraging the standard tools. So yeah, I think it's a cool innovation in terms of layering that sort of lifecycle, workflow wizard, if you like, over the top of the core transactions to make it nice and simple and very unique. So shifting gears, Tez, one of many challenges has been the sort of state of the economy, global supply chain interruptions, has been a big pain point for many businesses. We don't have a crystal ball, but in terms of getting visibility into where we're at now and how the business is performing is obviously really key to making sure we're on top of our business and doing everything we can. Perhaps you could share some insights into any impacts that Linen House has faced, and from your perspective, what you've seen and how you've been able to navigate that, using the technology.
Sure. Obviously, it's been a really disruptive few years from a lot of sense, from a lot of different reasons. Obviously, COVID being, the main one. But not to say that there has, some of the different stresses that everyone are probably feeling around, interest rates, price of fuel and electricity, inflation, all of these challenges. I think we're all facing them. And in terms of, some of the issues that, we have as far as, the contract manufacturing side of it too, like they all just add new challenges that we have to sort of process. Now, from our point of view, because we're so system and process driven, the changes that we have to, implement throughout our business, particularly around the manufacturing and the distribution side, if we're not staying on top of things like the costings or the manufacturing, timing or shipping of certain products, that information needs to be managed within that PI workflow, or else, given the 8,000 odd SKUs that we're managing at any given one time, it's very easy for things to fall through a crack. And if you don't get your pricing right, well, then obviously you don't get your margin, and then that's a bit of a disaster. So all of the practices that we have in terms of that product information solution, everything is managed via a process and exception reports, and the PI form is not only there to help people understand where something is in that whole life cycle. It's there to prevent us from making big mistakes too. So if you're not tracking the exchange rate in the right way, you're not tracking some of those expenses from your suppliers, you're not tracking the delivery delays that are happening at any given time, then I think it lends itself to being to make some errors. And not to say that we don't make mistakes ever, but I think when you're a highly process driven analytical sort of business, which essentially what we pride ourselves on, it makes it very difficult and makes it very easy to make mistakes on a large scale if you're not managing that side of it very well. And I think, again, it takes that, we rely very heavily on that whole PI workflow and life cycle innovation to help us navigate the current times where things are very challenging.
I think that's awesome. Love to hear systematic and process driven. That makes things, that's what we're in the business of doing. So it's good to have customers that are all about that. I think it's an interesting narrative. Like a lot of our customers that have experienced, tremendous growth, their drivers are really shifting towards making sure things are efficient, making sure things are automated. I think a lot of the things that you guys have achieved or can achieve quickly, e.g. integrating with new trading partners, integrating with vendors, and doing it easily, right? And having the technology to quickly connect those trading partners to go to market as quickly as you can, is where a lot of our discussions are at the moment with distributors and retailers that just can't move quick enough because they don't have foundations in place. And I think that's what sort of seems to stand out with you guys continuing to be a strong performing business, is having those foundations there and really just sort of seamlessly growing in each of your channels and moving within your channels as well, to stay relevant. So it's a testament to not just the IT strategies, but the operations that have gone into making that all happen, Tez. So it's, I appreciate you sharing your insights. I think we've got a little bit of time before we go to Q&A. I think for a lot of people on the call, they'd be particularly interested in inventory and warehousing. You mentioned earlier on that you're running the high jump, or now it's called Corba. They've gone through a few names there, but the high jump WMS solution, and you've got that integrated into NetSuite. Perhaps you could share a little bit more about that, how it works, what level of integration you're running, to give the audience a bit of an insight into that space.
Yeah, sure, Matt. Look, again, starting with the NetSuite being the source of truth. I mean, that really is the brains behind the whole operation. But having said that, there is a very tight integration between NetSuite and Corba, High Jump, Excelos. And that's critical as well, obviously, because they're two different systems. They need to be in complete sync, otherwise, we've got problems. But yeah, so I guess historically we've used Excelos or High Jump for a very long time. We've been able to use that technology to facilitate the successful processing of orders, distribution for multi-channel, and the way that we're doing that is through very tight integration pieces of work, whether that's through Australia Post or some of our other transport partners. We don't leave anything for people to we have as much automation and in place as possible, so we don't want people going in there and changing things once it gets down to the warehouse. It's very process driven. There's a lot of automation. We also use quite a few of the standard sort of Corba features for warehouse management in terms of keeping our inventory accurate. And they're just things that come essentially out of the box that you can do to make sure that when your system says you've got 3 of these things, you actually do have 3 of them. So we have been working and evolving our warehouse practices a lot with your help of your teams as well, Matt. So obviously having a partner who understands the business and understands that side of it is very beneficial. But yeah, it's been a long journey, in the last, specifically with the time that I've been there, in the 17 years that I've been there. We've matured that products. It's fit for purpose for what we do, but we've been at it for a very long time. And I think, the automation for that part is always a big thing, because you need less people and you're doing it more accurately if you automate and integrate in the right ways.
Before we go to Q&A, any advice for those in the audience who may be facing some difficulties around their business systems and how to approach a technology transformation?
Look, I think you need to find the right partner first, and obviously, without making it too, selling focused. But we've had a very long-term relationship with the Annexa team, your team, Matt. So, and we're still here, and the reason why we're still here, throughout, you've seen such a big part of all of the different things we've talked about today. We didn't do all of them when you first came on board. So for us, it was, you guys understand our business, and that partnership is hugely important to us, because although we understand, the business side of it and the industry side with homewares and bed linen and all the rest of it, we're not a technology company. So we're trying to do as much as we can with as little cost and effort as possible. So I think having the right technology partner is definitely the right way to go, because then they can direct you and educate you on what these technologies can do for your business. And technology is such a huge part of business now, especially in ones like Linen House, where we've got, there's many different channels, many different programs or solutions in play that all need to talk to one another too. So it's critically important that you get your technology right, so that you can reap the rewards of the automation and process. Whereas I think, not doing that just makes it harder for yourself.
Awesome. Always a pleasure, Tez. I really appreciate the Linen House partnership. Really appreciate your time to share your insights to the group. Great story. We'd love to hear from the folks tuned in. If you've got questions, Isabel, I might throw to you to see if we've got some Q&A.
Yeah, so we put a few polls up throughout the session, and we had quite a few of the attendees who are utilizing, Excel spreadsheets or manual processes, or some smaller systems like Xero and MyOb. So Tez, perhaps you could just give us a bit of a quick overview of the implementation process that you had for Cloud ERP and how long that took for you.
That's a good question. I think it took us a good part of 6 months, or just over 6 months, if I'm not mistaken. Matt, it's going back a few years now, but I guess for us it was, without getting, I guess, into too much of the detail, we sort of knew where we needed to get to. I mean, from a system or technical point of view, there was some things that weren't working, and we needed to find a solution on how to, not be in that position. So I think the technology choice was already made. So it just became a thing of who do we partner with to get us to this next step, right? So I think, and once we started looking, we knew NetSuite was the right way, because there was nothing else like it, at the time. And it meant that we would just get rid of this whole technical complexity with servers and infrastructure and stuff. So that was, that decision was made. We moved very quickly to then choosing the right partner. And then that kicked off a huge sort of an exercise where we worked with the Annexa team to, for them to come in and understand our business, understand what we were trying to do, understand our pain points. And then from that, we also then leveraged on the experience and the knowledge of the Annexa team to say, well, we get where you're trying to go, but have you considered some of these things too? And there was some, solution or NetSuite processes that just were easier and better than what we were doing. So we used that as an opportunity to have a look at not only trying to fix the things that we weren't happy with, but also optimize the things that were potentially working well. And then, it went on for I think it was a 6-month project, maybe a little bit more, I think, if you take in the initial conversations that we might have had. But I think, turnaround was probably around 6 months.
And then a whole lot of innovation and bunch of initiatives ongoing. Yeah.
And it hasn't stopped. I mean, it hasn't been something that we've gone, thank you very much, Matt, this is great. We'll talk to you in another year. We, the way that we operate as a partnership with the Annexa team, we have a bunch of hours that we sort of pre-purchase for the year, and we roughly know how much work is in the pipeline for development in our business. And we work with their team in the same way I've just described, only in smaller bite sizes. So we'll say, hey, we've got a new channel we're trying to implement, and this dropship is coming on, and they want to do X, Y, Z. Well, then we have a chat to them again, have a chat to their consultants, and then just work out what the best way forward is for that, and then just implement after that. So it's almost the same thinking, only in smaller chunks now. And the network is obviously a lot more complicated because of all the different channels that we run. I don't think I can hear you, Izzy.
Just not getting any audio. No, your audio is not easy. Let me have a look and see if we've got any more questions. Public chat doesn't seem to be any questions. Q&A. No, I don't think there's anything there. We'll stay on the line for a few more minutes. Thanks so much again to Linen House and you, Tez, for joining today. We'll stick around. We'll keep this open. Feel free to fling in some questions. And on the back of this, we'll be sharing a copy of the recording so you can look afterwards. We'll also share contact details, and we'd welcome conversations just to compare notes or hopefully talk to how we can help you with your systems journey as well.
Yeah, and look, I mean, if anyone here wants to shoot me an email, or you can welcome to give me a call as well. It's I'll try to share as much of our story or any details of how we've done certain things. If anyone's interested in more than, if you just contact Matt, I'm sure he'll share my details with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Tez. Thanks all.